palms and repeat after me. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. Keeping the palms joined. Put the palms down. All right, good evening, everybody. Good to see you all again. Back for more fun. It's funny. I don't know if this is funny. It was funny to me, but I'm not a big like meme fan, especially around like Buddhist stuff and enlightenment and awakening and things like that. I find most of them pretty like dumb, honestly. And but I just saw one. It was interesting because it was kind of the theme about 20 minutes ago, what I had in my mind I wanted to touch on tonight. And I'm going to read it, which is really funny because one, I'm not a meme fan. Two, I never share memes here. And three, it's pretty stupid, but I found it funny and I'm going to share it anyways. And it says, the road to enlightenment is long and difficult, and you should not forget snacks and magazines. And again, I just think memes are dumb. But for some reason, like that just kind of struck me because something that occurred earlier that popped in my mind, and I was like, oh, I should talk about that tonight. And what I'm getting at is, and for me as well, like I've always been a pretty serious person. Like I take things very seriously. I take suffering very seriously because it sucks, you know? I mean, those of us who've gone through it, which is in essence every single person in this room, knows that suffering and feeling pain and loss and things like that is not fun. So I take those things very seriously. You know, I don't take that lightly, and I don't take Buddhist practice lightly. I think jokes about enlightenment and nirvana are, they're out there, and I just kind of hear them. But so in practicing and in sharing Buddhist teachings, I take it pretty seriously, and that's how I share it, often very heavy. Often people end up in tears and leave even more confused and things like that. And, that's kind of the approach that I like to take because this stuff is challenging. It's difficult. But life is also about being able to enjoy yourself and have fun. And I don't necessarily mean, right, if someone said to me, 15 years ago, go enjoy yourself and have fun. Well, that would have meant a whole different thing than it does. I see some heads nodding, right? That enjoyment and that fun that might have been, prevalent in a lot of our lives is what got us here to begin with. So keep that in mind. But the joy and fun changes and it's different. But I think it's important that, and maybe I'm sharing this more for myself than anything, also more for myself to those who are here, because I don't typically talk about this stuff, but don't forget to enjoy your life and have fun with it, but within reason and within a limit that isn't going to just kind of perpetuate and keep you doing the same things over and over that led to the suffering to begin with. And Buddha talked about joy quite a bit, happiness quite a bit, and these things are important. And pretty much everyone else who leads here, Travis and Alex and Ken and all those folks, they talk about all that kind of stuff. That's why I feel okay staying away from it. Um, but find joy in your life. And very often, the approach I know, which focuses on, okay, let's focus on the suffering. And if we remove suffering, then joy appears. The Buddha nature appears. Awakening appears. Enlightenment appears if we remove the suffering. But the alternative approach or flip side approach is if you do things in your life that are healthy, of course, ideally, that bring joy and happiness to your life, then you might do less of the things that are causing suffering in your life. So find a balance there, whatever that is. And yeah, that's all I wanted to share. So thanks for showing up. It's always good to see you all. Thanks for allowing me to, well, I guess you didn't really allow me. I didn't even ask for permission. I just shared it. But, thanks for hearing my meme. To all of our wonderful YouTube fans and followers, thanks for being here. Feel free to type in the chat box there, say hello, whatever it might be. When we get to questions, I'll do my best to respond to you as well. So we'll start with a meditation practice. A couple things to tell you before we begin. Nothing's going to happen to you, right? You're not going to float away. You're not going to have any mystical, magical experiences. The mind that races all day long is not going to shut off. Don't judge your practice. Don't ask yourself, is this working or not working? Are you doing it right or wrong? We're just going to sit. We're going to breathe. You'll hear sounds inside, outside. This is life. Life is filled with chaos. And this practice is learning to get quiet and still within all of the chaos. Posture, you want to be comfortable. If you want a cushion, often it helps slide into the front third. Pushing the stomach forward allows the back to straighten, shoulders are relaxed. If you're on a bench or chair, however you're seated, also just trying to sit up straight, relaxing the shoulders. Hands are on the knees or lap, whatever is comfortable. If you need to move during meditation, simply move. Doesn't make you a bad meditator, it just means your leg hurts or you have an itch. So simply move and then do your best to return to stillness. I will guide us as we begin, and we'll settle into a little bit of silence. Most important, do not expect anything. We're just going to sit and breathe. And starting with the eyes closed, if comfortable, or slightly open. Mouth is open or closed. We'll start with taking 3 deep breaths, slowly. And eventually, settle into a natural rhythm of the breath. Noticing the mind as it wanders, jumping from thought to thought. Start with gently guiding the attention, focus, to the stomach or chest. Breathing in, feel them rise. Breathing out, they fall. Simply continue this practice, observing sensation of breath. As the mind wanders, lost in thought, recognize it, release that thought, return attention, focus to the breath. Breathing in, follow breath in, breathing out, follow breath out. Learning to be comfortable in stillness, in quiet, just sitting, breathing. Keeping the mind alert, aware of each sound. each thought, each physical sensation, yet concerned with nothing but sitting, breathing. And with the body still, rested, and the speech quiet, aware of all sounds, and the mind learning to settle, know what it's like to just sit and breathe, knowing with each breath there's nothing else to do, nowhere else to go, and no one else to be. Everything beautiful, exactly as it is. sitting, breathing. And once again, taking 3 deep breaths slowly. As you slowly open the eyes, slowly beginning to move. Most important with the practice of meditation is to recognize how you feel now, immediately after. Compare this to how you typically feel throughout your day. Recognize the difference, if there is one. Ask yourselves how you prefer to feel every day for the rest of your life. And realize however you feel now, if it's quiet, calm, and still, or a busy mind, racing mind, whatever you're sitting with at this moment, it's not from anything I said. It's not from how we sit and hold the hands or cross the legs. It's not from the sounds around us or anything else for that matter. It has everything to do with your own mind and your own mind's reaction to an external condition. This is what the Buddha called pratitya samuppada, means dependent origination. This is the basis of the Buddha's awakening. The word Buddha simply means awakened. He was a human being no different than any one of us who began to understand why he suffered, why he got angry, sad, depressed, stressed, anxious. He began to understand the causal relationship of all phenomena. And what that means very simply for all of us, regardless of where you come from or what you believe in or where you think you're going, your whole life is filled with things that happen. You react. More stuff happens, more reactions. That's it. That's what we get. This practice is simply learning what it's like to respond to something quietly, peacefully, still. Because for most of us, the way you responded to the last 20 minutes is quite different from how you respond to everything else that's happening throughout your day. So all we're working on is closing the gap to where the way you feel now is closer to how you feel always. Just as driven, motivated, productive, successful, whatever that means to you in your respective lives. But with a mind that's steady, clear, focused, distracted by nothing, disturbed by no one. It's not easy. It's probably the most difficult thing you'll ever have to do in your life, which is train the mind to be present. We spend so much of our lives focused on what everybody else does and says and thinks, trying to fix them, change them, correct them, worried about the past. Spend so much time concerned about future, fearful, scared. What are they going to do? How are they going to react? What will they think? So much time in our head is spent there. And very little time is spent actually just focusing on the present moment. And that's why it's so difficult. We're not used to it. And all of a sudden, this meditation thing enters your life, whether it's day one or 30 years in. And it's the same stuff over and over again. Can we learn to just sit and be with present moment? And that's very challenging. Meditation is free. Buddhist practice is free. It's not a business. It's not a 6-week course that's going to fix everything for you. It's helping you wake up to your life, nobody else's. I grew up watching way too much TV, but I just had a flashback to an old TV show called This Is Your Life. Anyone? Right? But this is your life. Yeah. So, what will you do with it? We have so many choices every day. Every single moment of our lives is filled with choices. And these choices either bring feelings, emotions of pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, as the Buddha taught. And this practice is simply reflecting on your life, your thoughts, your words, your actions. This is your karma, as the Buddha taught. So how do we navigate each day with a little bit of kindness, a little bit of compassion, a little bit of joy? That's the practice. And it just repeats over and over and over again every day. It's the same thing. For me, with Buddhist practice, there's no next. I've been calling this Intro to Buddhism for 12 years, and I promise you I will never teach an intermediate or advanced Buddhist class. I mean, I don't know about you all, but I'm definitely not ready for it. So, yeah. So it's a practice. We're always beginners. We're always learning. We're always starting. And, lucky for us, we have opportunities, people and places and things that will trigger you and make you miserable all day long. From commercials to the weather, to the food, to the people who made your coffee, all those people doing the things you just don't like. So hopefully soon the world will start to do everything you want it to, and then everybody will be fine. But just in case that doesn't happen anytime this year, we will continue to practice and work on our own madness. So that's what I'm going to keep doing, because there's enough of it there to work on for many lifetimes. So that's actually why I'm a fan of the rebirth thing, because I recognize I need multiple lifetimes to work through this stuff. So it's actually said the Buddha had like thousands of lives. I don't know why I've been bringing this up, because I definitely don't like talking about rebirth. It throws everybody off. But I'll just say this since I already opened it up. They say that the Buddha had thousands of lives prior to being born as Siddhartha Gautama. Endless lives before his life where he was Siddhartha, which he became called the Buddha eventually in that life. So I don't know about you, but got a ways to go. So go easy on yourselves. Don't forget the snacks and the magazines. Damn memes, they just stick in your head, All right, so I'm going to pause. Just open up to questions. For me, I really prefer to respond to what's on your mind. Questions, meditation, Buddhist practice, anything you're sitting with. And again, to those virtual, welcome. Feel free to chime in on the chat box there. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to respond. So I'll open it up to you all. Yeah.
I guess I was thinking about this question and kind of spurred on to ask because of what you just said about the many lives and stuff. Because I know you
I'm sorry.
usually don't go into things.
Yeah.
I like to keep it basic. But I was just wondering, did the Buddha say anything about dreams?
About what?
Dreams.
About dreams. So the Diamond Sutra says that life is nothing but a dream, a bubble, and an illusion. A very dear friend of mine and great Buddhist teacher used to say that the mistake that we make as humans is we think that we're awake right now. And then we're going to go home or wherever we go to, and we're going to close our eyes and we're going to do what we call going to sleep. And we're going to have what we call and refer to as a dream. But ultimately, that thing we call a dream and this right now is exactly the same thing.
Thanks.
Yeah. I always feel great when I clarify things for you. Yeah.
Is there a difference in how the Buddha described joy versus happiness? Is there a distinction?
Sure. So the question of, is there a difference between how the Buddha described joy and how he described happiness? I think that it is kind of prevalent throughout the real base. It permeates throughout the basic teachings. And what I mean by that is, well, let me start this way. Let's forget about this Buddha guy for a minute that we're all supposed to learn stuff from, right? What is joy to you? And what is happiness to you? What's the difference to you?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. What's your name?
Katie.
Katie, what's the difference to you? What is, when you think of joy and you think of happiness, what's the difference to you?
For me, joy feels like deeper, underlying, and happiness feels more of like a precursor to joy, almost like there's like almost like more of a fleeting emotion in the moment.
Okay.
And joy feels more like deeper feeling.
You didn't say the word, but you, in my mind, at least inferred it slightly. Does happiness to you seem a little more fleeting, a little more impermanent?
Yeah.
Where joy is a little bit deeper?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think it's always important with a question like that to explore, like, hey, what is it, what are they to you? And just express it and then create an opportunity for everyone to really ask themselves, like, what is joy? What is happiness to you? And what's the potential difference? For me, when I look at the Buddhist teachings, it starts with intention. And so kind of, based on what I started tonight talking about when I said, make sure you have fun and enjoy things. That's wonderful and all, but if your intention behind that is to just feed yourself with temporary, fleeting moments of happiness based on self-cravings, desires, instant gratification, immediate happiness, that, as the Buddha teaches, everything is impermanent, so all that's just going to come and go. Happiness comes and goes. So does sadness, I mean, when we're sad, we love the Buddhist teachings on impermanence because we know that'll fade away. But when we're happy, we're like, no, I don't want this to go away. So I think it's important to understand with happiness, a lot of it is very emotional, very temporary, and very much based on our, I don't want to use the word selfish because I don't want to plant that seed, but that's kind of the words that's in my mind. But it's really based on me, my ego, feeding my pride. What can I get and do that's going to make me happy? And again, I'm assuming you're referring to happiness and joy within, not making others happy. Yeah. And so I see happiness from Buddhist teachings of what's going to make me happy in the moment. But then what do I do when that goes away? Where joy, I think, is, as you said, it's a much deeper practice. Sympathetic joy, as the Buddha taught, which is this really deep feeling that feeds into our thoughts and our words and our actions. And if our intention is coming from a place of kindness, compassion, what will benefit me, but also others, I think happiness, often we can seek happiness for ourselves, and at times that might mean that others may suffer from that. Where I think if we are truly cultivating a deep sympathetic joy, I think that will also bring happiness to others and joy to others. Does that make sense? Yeah. Happy is such a funny word, you know? Yeah. That's all I got. Yeah. Yeah.
Couple of things. First thing, I'm telling myself a little bit. I was looking at the website, the schedule. I was going to share it with somebody. I'm a teacher.
Yeah.
So I read Introduction to, and my mind went to, I wonder if there's an intermediate class.
Yeah.
Things like perhaps seconds.
Yes.
Buddhism 102.
Yeah.
But last week, you really helped me with something. I'm struggling with something. This is a big thing. It has so many layers, and we didn't have time. But you were very gentle and just created a space for me to work through something. It was a paradigm I'm using in my teaching practice that I just don't think serves us anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was picking through the rubble of this paradigm, trying to see if there's anything left of it. And I realized there's not. It's time to move forward. And the second part of that, I used the metaphor, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm realizing I'm using old metaphors that don't pertain anymore.
Mm-hmm.
He really created the space for me to. This past week has just been amazing.
Sure. Great.
So I want to thank you.
Thank you.
Do everything with that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yes.
A couple of things, like I always laugh when, no offense to anyone in here who's maybe said this or done this, so there's a little asterisk with that, but I always, laugh is maybe the wrong word. I kind of, I find humor when people say, okay, intro class, I've gone to the intro, so what's next? And I often say to people like, hey, so how you doing with the Four Noble Truths? Like, oh, I know those. Okay, you memorized them? Yeah. Did you get angry today? Yeah, then you don't know them. Right? So it really is, and we are so conditioned to think. You're not the only one who said, okay, well, here's the intro class. And then they're scrolling through looking for, like, I'm beyond that. And everybody's looking for the advanced class, But there are so many metaphors, so many expressions, so many views, so many things that I know for me personally as a practitioner that I used to say that are just so inappropriate for a billion reasons, And it's interesting when you begin to see how we do become so conditioned, based on how we were raised, where we were raised. I talked last week about privilege and things like that, and how that plays into our lives. And how it's so hard for us to step outside our view and recognize, like, wow, what's really going on here that's outside of my view? And how am I? I spent most of my life, every single thing I said would have been offensive to somebody, but I was so wrapped up in my view that I wouldn't have even realized it. And so when you start to think about these things on a very deep level, you're talking about education influencing the minds of, youth, and like really having a position of power where you can really get through to them. And then the question is, what do we want to get through to them? And for me, it's the same thing sitting here with everybody week after week is, what do I want to get through? And I think it's really important to just watch, just in our daily conversation, things we say, things that we don't say, where we hear people speak, and the Buddhist teachings on right speech with gossip and slander and all these things. And we hear things making, friends or family making racial comments where silence is dangerous. We have an opportunity to speak up and not remain silent. If somebody's making racial remarks or sexist remarks, the Buddhist practice isn't just to sit there silently and smile and observe. It's to bring it to light, to be fearless. So I think we're all really challenged in this regard of how can we use the Buddhist teachings on wisdom and compassion to really know how to utilize our speech. Because it's important. You familiar with Krishnamurti? Phenomenal teacher. Yeah, there's a book, probably have it in the library here. If not, I'll find it and get it to you. But it's a great book called, all of his teachings are incredible, but this one is, I think it's just titled On Education. So if what I said started to shatter your view of how you're wanting to teach, that book will completely blow your mind. Because I look at his teachings, and there's incredible YouTube teachings on Krishnamurti from like the 70s or something like that. You ever seen those? There's teachings of him and Chogyam Trungpa sitting on like this massive red carpet, and they're both just like blowing each other's minds. I mean, it's a trip, So Krishnamurti On Education, phenomenal text.
Just quickly, one thing
Yeah.
that you showed me was I was in this space, and rather than make me feel defensive and protect myself, you encouraged me to move into that, to lean into it,
Mhm.
to explore further. So as far as a teacher, just learning that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a big fan of us learning to be uncomfortable and okay with that, and in front of people, and being able to honestly and authentically say, like, wow, I'm an idiot. Like, hey, what I've been saying and doing all these years in front of all you students, I don't believe anymore. I don't agree with. Now you might get fired, you might lose your job. And that's what's our truth. What are we comfortable with? So I'm not encouraging the firing, by the way, or losing the job, but when we're called to do certain things and share thoughts and ideas, I hope that we all, not just in the teaching standpoint, that's just one example, but that we are very authentic and genuine with what we're expressing. That we live our lives truly to the core of who we are and what we believe, because that's important. Yeah. Otherwise, we're just living a lie. And life is too short and too precious to be afraid to live that lie. Yeah. Not easy, but other thoughts, questions? Yeah.
Just a thought.
Yeah, go ahead.
That interaction that you
Sure.
just had is the reason why I come here and why I love this practice so much. So the fact that you created that space last week, and the fact that you in 1 week came to that realization and self-reflection, I absolutely love that. It makes me so happy.
Thank
So
you.
That's why I'm here.
Thank you.
You know?
Happy and joyful. See, there you go.
Excuse me, yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate you sharing that. I saw a hand in the back also. Yeah.
Well, I have a question on awakenings and enlightenment. I feel like there's, after your first awakening, there may be more before you actually reach enlightenment. Like, how many awakenings are there before you achieve enlightenment?
712.
And then my last question is, what is enlightenment to the mind here?
To the what?
To your mind, or the mind that's speaking?
To my mind?
Yeah.
Oh, I have no idea. Great question. I'm just going to repeat it for anyone virtual, and I'll. So the question is around enlightenment, and you feel that there are, after you have your first enlightenment, that there are many enlightenments that can occur after, before awakening, right? Is that a proper rephrasing?
Well, the first enlightenment is understanding totality, but then after that, you're still dealing with habit energy.
Okay.
That seems to make you feel like I'm not acting enlightened. So there feels like there's correlation there.
You've been reading a lot. Yeah?
I read, I meditate a lot.
What are you reading, if you don't mind my asking?
Well, I've read some of the Kumbala books. And
The what?
The Shambhala.
Shambhala, yeah.
Thank you. And just on compassion and fear, and more than anything, I've been following a lot of lectures, but
Yeah.
I do a lot of internal work.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's beautiful. Shambhala, I mentioned Chogyam Trungpa, who founded all of that. Incredible practice, incredible lineage. So, awakenings, enlightenment, lots of Buddhist teachers along the way over the last 2,500 years, they will all talk about awakening and enlightenment differently. My personal opinion is that none of them are right and none of them are wrong. They're taking something, awakening, enlightenment, that cannot be put into words at all. For me, when I look at Buddhist teachings on awakening, I think that I don't get the teachings as like a series of awakenings. You may have realizations, you may have insights, you may have recognitions of things that are coming from the sense of self and ego and pride, and you may realize, hey, this is kind of blocking my path to enlightenment, and you may realize that, and then some teachers may refer to that as an awakening. And I just think that's a dangerous word to kind of play with, because to me, what I get from the Buddhist teachings is you're either awakened or you're not. You're either enlightened or you're not. To confuse it even more, the Buddha said very clearly that we are all already awakened. So it's not something that we must attain or like achieve as a goal. Are you with me so far?
Yes, but I remember.
You don't have to agree. I just mean, yeah.
There was a time where I was not awakened. Like, I was unconsciously living, and then I became completely self-aware.
Completely 100% self-aware.
I believe I'm totally self-aware.
Well, then God bless you.
But
Yeah.
I'm also unaware of me bringing the sun up in the morning, and so I mean, I'm as aware as my consciousness allows me to be. But
I would disagree with that. You just are not awakened. If you were, you would be as awakened as your consciousness would allow you to be, because your consciousness will allow you to be endlessly awakened.
so there's no limit to the ability of what you can like.
It's not a spectrum. It's not a spectrum. I mean, yes, so I'm challenging you just for the sake of this, but I don't know you. I don't know anything about you. So I'm definitely not going to say that you're not enlightened or you're not awakened. I'm just throwing out suggestions or ideas based on what I'm hearing. And my approach and understanding of Buddhist practice is that awakening is not a series of events. And this, let me go back to the sun metaphor for a minute, right? So as the Buddha taught, he said that as human beings, we all have bodhicitta, Buddha nature. We are all already awakened. But like on a cloudy day, do you see the sun? No, right? Can you see the sun on a cloudy day?
I feel it, and I can definitely.
No. I get it. You're trying to win this. I'm asking you not to win this. I'm the awakened one here. I'm asking you to play, not to win. Okay? On a cloudy day, do you see the sun? No. Good answer. Why can't you see the sun? Because of the clouds. Is the sun still there? Yes. And when the clouds part, what do you see? The sun. The clouds, that's our ego. That's our pride. That's our attachments. That's our craving. That's our desire. That's what the Buddha called the cause of our suffering, the three poisons: greed, anger, ignorance. All that stuff, right? That challenges us, that causes us to feel angst, discomfort, uncomfortable, like the feeling of being challenged about your awakening. That feeling that you're potentially sitting with, those are the clouds. And when those clouds part, that bodhicitta, that Buddha nature, that sun is there. Not on a spectrum, not on a scale, not larger or smaller, not on Wednesday versus Friday. It's just there. The practice is to move the clouds, right? Enlightenment, and again, for me, anytime I talk about nirvana, enlightenment, awakening, any kind of this stuff, like I love engaging like this and dialoguing and discoursing and things like that. But I don't focus on enlightenment. I don't focus on awakening. I don't sit here thinking, okay, it's Tuesday, October. I'm hoping by December I will have awakened. There is zero chance of me awakening by December. Enlightenment is like multiple lifetimes away. I just want to be a little kinder, a little gentler, a little nicer, a little less selfish today than I was yesterday. I want to continue to see all of those clouds because there's a lot of them. I want to continue to spend every moment, the rest of my life, to the best of my ability, focused on the clouds. While happy, while joyful, while smiling, while laughing. But that ego, man, that thing is tough. That sense of self, that pride that we hold on to is really hard to let go of because we spent our whole lives building it. That confidence, that arrogance, all those things, that fear, all those clouds. But can we be with the clouds and be joyful? Can we be with the clouds and continue to go through our day and just be nice to people? I mean, how hard would it be for you all to be nice to every single person you encounter? It's a nighttime class, so I'm going to say for the next 24 hours. This was Saturday, I'd give you the whole day, but you could just go home and go to sleep, and then you're clear. But it's really hard to just be nice to people. And you know who's most important that you're nice to? Yourself. And who are we usually the hardest on? Ourselves. We can beat ourselves up pretty bad. So, for me, nirvana, enlightenment, awakening, even technical Buddhist teachings, samsara, nirvana, cycle of rebirth, nirvana, liberation, it's all here, it's all now. There's no difference between samsara and nirvana. None. They're just words that we use in Buddhism that can really, I think, confuse us if we're not careful. The great bodhisattva teaching is that bodhisattvas would never refer to themselves as bodhisattvas. Bodhisattvas are enlightened beings. And the moment you know that one is not a bodhisattva, my great first teacher, Venerable Yizhe, Tibetan Buddhist nun, she always said the practice of a bodhisattva is to not think of yourself as a bodhisattva. Clean the toilets, sweep the floors, do that stuff. Bodhisattva thought is just a potential to put another feather in our, again, there you go, the metaphors. Totally inappropriate. See how it happens? Endless. That's why I'm afraid to walk on a baseball field. All of a sudden, I'd be back to, the language and everything I used to use. So, anyways, I'm going to close with that thought. So we'll join palms. May the benefit of this practice be shared with all beings in all directions. May all be at peace. May all be free from suffering. May any merit gained from this practice be transferred to more than 6 million lives that were lost during this pandemic and their family and friends who continue to suffer to this day. May they all be at peace and free from suffering. May we all be at peace and free from suffering. And before you all scatter, David, we'll have a few announcements.
I will try to read announcements. I did not bring my reading glasses, so bear with me. Oh, it just says hi. I'm the Dharma Bus host, David. I got that part right. We opened the Dharma Bus Temple 15 years ago to introduce Buddhist practice to those who show up. Those who lead are not nuns, monks, gurus, masters, or teachers, and are not looking for students. They are simply practitioners sharing their interpretation of the practice with others. Just about every night we have different classes led by different people with various Buddhist traditions. We have a recovery sangha that meets several times a week for anyone battling addiction, drugs, alcohol, or anything else for that matter. A family sangha for parents, kids, toddlers, and teens, which currently meets once a month. And we also offer a half-day silent retreat for the first Saturday of the month with an RSVP required. Everything we offer here is always free. The full schedule is on our website and also posted in the entryway above the shoe rack. We also have a lending library. If you would like a book, feel free to borrow it, then bring it back whenever you are done with it. Please straighten your cushion or please straighten your seat or cushion before you head out. Thank you for being here. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, David. I do have one more thing I want to say because it's sitting with me and bothering me. What's your name in the back? I'm sorry.
I wish I could say I have no name, but Ruby.
Ruby, that's right. I knew that. I just want to say, the reason I asked about what you were reading is because and I don't, my intention is not for you or anyone else in here to like kill the excitement about awakenings, but my feeling is that what you're reading is using the words awakenings different from Buddhist teachings on being awakened. And I think they're using it more as realizations, as I mentioned earlier, awarenesses versus like actually being awakened. Because there is a fundamental difference between having insight, realizations, awakenings, where I think it's being used, and actually being awakened. Those are two different things in fundamental Buddhist teachings. So
I just had an experience.
yeah,
And that's really where it mostly came from.
for sure.
Personal experience.
And so couldn't that personal experience just be seen as tremendous insight?
Possibly.
As opposed to like,
Words are like pointing at the moon, so.
totally. I'm just cautioning not just you, but everyone that we're careful with, like when we refer to ourselves as like, I'm awakened versus I've had a deep insight or deep realization. Those are two different things. That's all. So thank you, Ruby. All right. Thanks all. Windows.